Hello my dear chess friends, welcome to QHS, solving tactics today, it's Wednesday, and welcome. Um, let's just start. We've got this first puzzle where we definitely have lack of material because um, I see that we've got at least, we are at least exchanged down. Alright, so what we need to do is probably look into something what we've got in surplus here, and I definitely see those two pawns. One of them is going to go in queen, if we've got the chance. Here is the dilemma: shall we exchange the queens here or not? I reckon that we have got no safe retreat for the queen because our bishop is also under attack, so it looks like we have to take that. And you know what? There's one game, Artuena Sans, which might be the case, but I'm not quite sure. It is a really famous example on the role of pawns in the endgame. So I think we should take the queen. We've got no choice. And once he's taken, I think we should take here, or maybe we should move further, or maybe we should take with the bishop and then move the pawns forward. I haven't decided yet, but it seems like the case. So we have to take the queen because I don't really see any other reply. Otherwise, we'll lose the bishop. So once the queen is taken, we can think further because, well, nothing else could be really attractive here. If you wish, you can just always look into that a little bit deeper, but then you'll realize that, well, probably that's the best thing here to change the queens. That's what I think, at least. So I will not hesitate to take the queen here. Okay, so we go. The queens went away from the board, and what do we do next? I think I would take the pawn on b3, and I'll explain to you why. Because first of all, the pawn on b4 is covering us from the um, back back attacks. So if I take here and if he steps, I go there further. Say he takes. That doesn't really work, does it? So far, if he does not, he's not lured by my bishop, then it wouldn't really work. So if I take, he goes further here. Maybe I've got something else. Let's see. Let's see. Or maybe that's another suggestion. I'm just taking with the bishop. The idea is that I can move the pawns forward. If he comes this way, I go move the pawn forward further. If he takes the pawn, then I'm moving the pawn forward. He's got no possibility to stop this pawn. Right, so we are winning. So if we take here, if he goes there, and we move the pawn further forward, then what other options does he have? Taking here, we move forward, and that's kind of winning, it seems like. But if I take, he can give me multiple checks here. I'm not sure if that's gonna help or not, but those two pawns here seem really dangerous. They do. There's no way that if I move pawn to a3, there is going to be anything for me, is there? If he just simply goes back, I can take here, right? So that doesn't really matter. But if I go there and he takes, then no matter what I do, he's gonna move the rook back or even attack my pawn here. Not probably moving the rook back and then coming with the king to stop the pawns. So that's this one I'm going to lose. Let me just check quickly this one. So taking here, he goes there to b6, and if I move forward, he just takes the pawn and I can't do anything. So taking with the bishop seems again the only move that could potentially keep both of the pawns and not to lose straightforward. So I'm gonna make that move. That's the correct move. Now he moved against that pawn, But if I move my pawn forward, I'm not quite sure what white can do. Probably he's gonna go behind to a6 and guard the pawn from moving, right? Probably. Then what we can do is we can move our bishop to c2 and try to move another pawn. Because if he takes that pawn, my pawn gonna go further and he won't be able to stop it. Well, he can give him a check. I go away and he steps behind, but then the pawn still queens with check, and he would need to sacrifice his rook for that. So looks like straightforward to me. Just going further. If he takes, he loses. If he steps aside, I step aside here and the second pawn moves. But if he goes, well, he cannot really go back. If he gives me a check, I'm simply going away. He starts to come closer with the king, I'm moving the pawn forward. And if he steps behind that pawn, I'm moving that pawn forward. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Now, if I move, that would be a mistake if I move, I think. If I move forward, he goes check, I go away, and he stops the pawn here. He stops the pawn, it seems like. Therefore, we can't really move right away. We need to do something here. What if I move that way? He still gives me a check, so the problem is this check here on b7 that he can perform. But I haven't got anything else. Shall I just move away? He can't step behind the pawn, so he gives me check. I go away. He steps in front of, behind of the pawn, and my pawn is gonna be dead soon, right? If I go there, though, he gives me check. I go away. He steps behind. My pawn is safe, right? So maybe I should just go for the other pawn. He can always stop me, of course. And that's not really worth, is it? And I just for a reason I thought I just can move to a2 and that's winning. And this check is in fact not really helpful. How can I prevent him from checking me? Just going away with the king right forward. Then he takes, I move here, he stops the pawn, so no, that doesn't work. What can I do? Maybe I'm just thinking. I just go further. He checks me, I'm covering with the bishop. And that should do. Because I'm just simply marching with the... Well, I can't march with the king. Well, I march here, he starts to move his king in. And that's why... Maybe I should just move with the... oh no. So I move the pawn, he gives me check, I'm moving with the king. Okay. He goes behind the pawn, he has to, otherwise I queen. And then we're simply moving our king forward. King there, king there, king there, king there. He can always start giving me checks, but I think in the end I will win that pawn. I will win the rook for my pawn, and he always needs to guard that. He can give me several checks here, but then eventually my king goes there and there. covering with the bishop. I'm queening here, and I don't think he will be able to get to my pawns here. So yeah. Check. And I'm gonna move forward here, I think. And then just move the king further. Hang on, just a quick observation. So he goes there, goes there. If I go further, he can go that way, but he still cannot really take me. That's the problem for white. Yeah. Going there, and my king should just approach, I think. I will just approach. He gives me check, sure, I'm just gonna go further. If his king starts approaching, that's not a problem. I just go and attack his rook at some point. So he comes closer, I attack his rook. So he goes somewhere closer, threatening check. I'm just going away. He comes closer with the king, I'm going there. He comes closer here, I'm attacking the rook again. The rook goes away, and here I'm doing that and the queening. Yeah. Right, and that's correct. So it is kind of strategical puzzle, and I'm really surprised I was given only 7 points for that one, because it is quite a long one. And basically what you need to do is to create a plan how you can win that one. But first moves are quite forcing, and that one is also. This one I saw, but then once I moved the pawn, I didn't realize that he could take and then just go back with check and then reposition the rook. This is gonna be bad, but well, what else could I do? So he takes, I move the pawn forward, he gives me check, and my king starts approaching. He moves forward to stop the pawn, my king comes further, he starts to approach with the king, and my king goes further, and that's winning. Why? Because if he moves forward, I'm just simply going for the pawn. If he goes there, I'm gonna go there. Goes there, um, um, covering the A file, and here he doesn't really have anything to do because I'm queening next move. He could sacrifice the rook here, of course. Once I move, he just goes there, but then I'm having an extra piece, and he cannot take any of my pawns. I'm gonna definitely take that pawn out. Yeah, and that's winning. Good, plus 7 points. Next. Alright, so this one is looks like we've got some deficit of pawns, namely we're missing 2. The other pieces seem to be on the board, and the rooks and the queens, that's all good. We have been just attacked by the enemy's bishop, but we can take out the knight on e5. Would that be okay for us? I don't know, because he can take on f2, then I can go away, he gives us a check, I can cover. Well, he can't really give a check on h4 because I'm taking from here, so it looks like kind of safe. But let's see again. Take. What if he takes with the rook? Actually, I can take the rook too, but my queen is under attack, so no. It seems like I've got no other possibilities but to take the knight. If he takes with the rook, the idea is discover check, of course, and I need to be really careful here. Oh, actually, I can move the bishop here, and that's gonna be it. Wherever he repositions, I am going to. Well, hang on. If the queen repositions, I don't know if that's worth or not. So if I go there, if he forks me here, I take him. He takes me. I take him here. I think that's kind of not too complicated, unless I'm missing something. Unless I'm missing something here. Once all of the pieces are concentrating on your king, it is a bit dangerous because we haven't got any threat so far, seems like. Apart from taking the knight, right? Going away with the queen somewhere, just going away doesn't seem to be helpful. Takes, yeah, the rook goes away and we are without two pawns. Actually, this bishop is really good, I kinda like that. So maybe at some point we can relocate to h5 because the pawn is pinned and we can threaten to take on g6. Say if I get there and if he does something here, it's like check here. I don't have any other option but to go. Well, actually, I do have options. I got to h1 or h2, and he can give me check here. So say I go to h1, I don't want to give him this opportunity to give me a check. But then even if I go there, check, I take, he takes with the rook. I'm still standing like a piece up. Then I'm gonna take here. Yeah. So I think if I take here, the rook take is can be a better solution, and for that I'm just playing bishop to c5, or maybe I should just go with the queen. No, with the rook with the bishop, of course. This way it seems like better because I'm also threatening to take here with check. Yeah, I think that's clear enough. I'm taking. He takes here with check. Okay, so it's not a rook anymore. It is the queen check, and then the idea is where to go. I kind of like h1 more, and I'll explain to you why. Because first of all, there is no check on f4, which is important. I'm still piece up, but I can exploit that to the to a better extent, kind of. So if I go there, what can he do? Well, he can take here, for example, or just I don't know. I need to find some counter play for black. And see that's the whole point of playing like playing chess, where you need to. Thank you, Ruby, for following. Um, 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 that's the whole point. So once you play chess, you need to think as hard for your opponent as for yourself, because you need to find the best moves for your opponent to be able to prevent any unwanted attacks on your king or improving the position. So here if I go, I've got two options. Again, there's no miracle, so you need to calculate both variations. I don't like h2 because he gives me a check. I need to estimate if I take on f4 with the queen and he takes with the rook, do I have any merits here? And I think I do. I can take here on d7, and I'm threatening discover check here. I kind of probably keep all of the merits of the position here. Yeah, those pawns are quite dangerous, but hey, he couldn't really go there and take them right forward. Maybe he can go there, but then I give him discover check and take the rook. Yeah, well that seems fine too. So maybe that's what I need to do. The the whole idea is that if I go that way or that way, what I'm looking at is just the rook to f5 as well, and that's kind of that's not really good, is it? But I haven't got no choice. I haven't got any choice. So either way, going here or there, rook to f5 seems... No, rook to f5 is not nothing. I can simply take that. But he can go rook to... No, he cannot, because h4 is not an option anymore. So what would he do? In which one of those two moves is correct? That's what we need to find out. Let's look into the position a little bit deeper. So and decide what is better for us. Ideally for black it is okayish now if he can do if he can do perpetual, right? So in terms of that, if I go either way, he can go that way. First attacking my queen, attacking my rook, and that's where I think king to h2 is better, because if he takes my rook here, at least it is without check. I'm not sure. But then he can move the rook there. I can also threaten him or do something, or not. I can move that way, attacking him, then just go back. He can actually attack me on the first rank, like my bishop, for example. I don't know. Seems a bit complex when I go to h2. Is there any merit for me to keep the queens on the board or not? I believe that once I am material up, it is safe for me to go for the endgame. I think I may be wrong, of course, but it seems like I'm okay if I go there. If I go there, this is the move which is probably not good for me. I simply have to take. He takes me with the bishop. I take there. He pins me. And what do I do? I simply go back, attacking the bishop. He goes away. I'm gonna go away, and yeah, with an extra piece, I think I can count on the win. But maybe there is a better way. If I go to h1, what is the catch then? I don't like staying on the first rank because he can always check me if the rook goes away, for example. But once I'm on h2, he's got no checks on me. Because with the next move, I'm planning to go rook to takes d7, because that's kind of a serious threat. Then I'm gonna take on a6 if necessary, etc. So I reckon king to h2 is better. I'm not afraid of exchanging pieces. I mean the queens, because that would give me leverage here to take on d7 and then create some of the threats of discovered checks and that. Whereas if I'm going to h1, then all of these kind of things might start. But what things? What things? I wouldn't be able to take on d7, but well. See, he goes that way. Oh, still take him. Intuitively, I want to go away from the first one, but hang on, maybe that's the wrong intuition. Maybe I can still keep here because this way, I can bring the rook in here. Pawn is pinned. And if I take the rook, maybe he can go there, in fact. If I go there, he goes. If I go either way, he goes to f7, attacking my bishop. I'm protecting that bishop, and that's where, if I own an h1, he can give me a check. And I go away, and he still gives me check. Taking, check, and winning the rook, so that doesn't make sense. But the rook check here can win the bishop there. Well, yeah, I'm moving to h2. And this way I'm just winning. Well, look, my suggestion was staying on the first rank here would allow him to go like, I don't, well, maybe even moving the rook there. So if I move the rook there, he needs to move away with the bishop. If I do the planned attack here, to check here, going away, check here. So that's why I didn't really want to stay in the first rank, because there's another piece in here as well. So that seemed giving him possibility to give me a check. Whereas on h2, I'm kind of covered from checks. He can't really go anywhere to give me a check. And if he does, which happened in the solution, right? If he does, like taking here, takes here, check, going away. If he gives me check, I'm okay to exchange everything. It is still a piece, right? Material is material here, and if he gives me check here, I'm gladly exchanging that. He exchanges that, I'm taking here with the possibility of discover check. He needs to go away somewhere, okay? And I'm extra piece. I'm having extra piece here, okay? Let's see how bad it is for black. Let's see what the computer says. +4 already, +4.1. Yeah, well, that's winning for sure. +4.2. Yeah. Okay, that's convincing, at least to me. 10 points for here. The hardest part of that puzzle was where to go with the king here. And the idea is that if I was on h1, then he could give me check and take my bishop, and then take here at some point. Okay, so he takes back the piece, and he stays with 2 extra pawns, which is, well, if not guarantees a win, it could even at least a draw. Okay, so black doesn't really risk anything here. Okay, all right, next one. That's +10 points, by the way. Yeah, that's good. Right, so we've got a relatively simple, but at the same time very could be complex endgame. Since we've got opposite color bishops, that is a hint that with quite high probability this game would end with a draw, because opposite color bishops in the end game with the pawns doesn't necessarily bring the win. Okay, but that said, you still need to be really careful, because sometimes you can create a passer somewhere where the bishop cannot really reach, or there could be two connected passers, and then it is going to be hard for the weakest part to stop those pawns at some point. Yes, you can sometimes block them on the colors of opposite to your bishop, and then just stand and blockade them with your king and bishop just moving back and forth, but sometimes that wouldn't really help. Okay, so you need to be careful about that, because well, sometimes pawns are too dynamic, then you can't really stop them. So let's see what we've got here. We can definitely take the pawn, but is that better to get our king away, because he still can protect that pawn with either bishop or the king, or this way or whatever. I reckon we should neglect that pawn and just go forward, centralizing our king. This pawn is going to be under attack, and whatever he moves, like if he moves somewhere away from that pawn, we're gonna take that pawn, and then we'll get another passer here. I'm not quite sure if it is gonna bring us a win or not, but at least we will take one pawn, and yeah, well, that's kind of not clear yet, really, if that brings a win or not. That's what my concern is. In fact, we've got that passer, and that on its own is a little bit dangerous for black. So maybe we should take the pawn on a5. He can definitely defend that different ways, but all of our pawns are on a dark square, so he cannot really attack them with the bishop. Then we say go back. He goes there, and it doesn't seem like I could break through here. What can be my threats, by the way? My threat is first of all to move that pawn, or to get with my king somewhere here and take that pawn out. Then there will be not enough room for black bishop to stop that pawn, so I would move forward and queen on g8 at some point. So that is not really, is it feasible or not, because he just stays on his place. He stays in his place, and I can't really break here, can I? So go in there. If I go there, what is gonna happen? He needs to keep that pawn for sure. But is that so important or not? Say if he goes somewhere, bishop here, I take here, he covers, I move forward, then I slip through to that pawn. I think that is going to be devastating. So I think I should occupy c5. But what then? It looks like getting this losing the pawn on d5 is going to be having a crucial effect on black, because as I said, we can move the pawn forward, then slip with our king on the dark squares and take another pawn out, and that's going to be quite hard for black to defend. But if we go there and he takes another stand, like going to b7, what is going to be our idea in this case? If we move the pawn forward here, he can also attack that pawn, right? But if he attacks that pawn, he doesn't defend his pawn, so I'm gonna take on d5 with a similar effect of infiltrating, right? So that is kind of clear. So it looks like we have to go to c5. And he can't really go with his king back and forth, because if he goes there, I'm infiltrating here. If he goes that way, I'm infiltrating here, and say if he protects the pawn, what can I do in this case? Well, I can take that pawn anyways, but he might be able to blockade me, my king here, so I won't go back. If I maneuver a little bit, like moving with my bishop to c5, say he goes somewhere else, yeah, if I go there, then I'm gonna slip here, and he needs to protect the 5 pawn, so he goes back, and I go there. kind of a lot of maneuvers, but I don't see anything concrete here. So like um, a clear path to win. I don't see that. It is positioned with big advantage for white for sure because we've got a lot of maneuvering um, room for maneuvers here. But yeah, where is the win? That's the question. And the question is, shall I take on a5 or not? I don't think so. I think we should go further. This is more important pawn for us than those two, because I can't create my passer here, but I can create a passer here. And as I see it, my plan is to infiltrate. Right, so we are in check anyway, so I think our king should go to c5 in this case. And what we are playing for here is the Zugzwang position, in which any move from black side creates even more weaknesses, right? What I'm also thinking is if he goes with the bishop away, I can relocate my bishop onto here with check, and therefore if he goes away, I can always go with my king further, or I can take that one if an opportune moment um, stands. So look like, well, I think I'm almost certain that I need to go to c5 here, because this is kind of a lure here to get me there. I don't want to. If I go there, I'm wasting time, it looks like. So he can relocate his king to c6, and then it's going to be really hard for me to infiltrate. Yeah, I'm going to c5 here. Okay, so he moves with his bishop. There is a lot of moves there, but I didn't really see that one. Anything around that, any maneuvering around there is not really helping black. So once he's gone away, I reckon I can take this pawn once he gives me that opportunity. If he gives me check here or check here, I'm simply, well, first of all, b3 check is better because I can't go further here, right? So it is better. And if I return back, he just say he still maneuvers on that big diagonal. And what am I going to do here? If I don't take the pawn, he's gonna stand somewhere here and dance with his bishop, and I won't be able to do anything. Seems like I can move my bishop here and check, and then he goes away, and then if I go further, I think that would be good. If he goes that way, not clear. What if I just move my pawn forward? I think that's a good idea. I think that's a brilliant idea. If he protects his pawn, I can give a check. I can give a check. It was one other thing. And if I give a check, so he goes there in front of the pawn, and I give another check, he goes in front. So once I go there and he protects the pawn, I can go to f6 straight forward, because that allows me to get his king out. And if he starts to come back and forth with his bishop, then what is my plan? Moving the pawn forward wouldn't help because his king is gonna approach, right? So maybe we shouldn't really rush with the pawn advantage. Taking here is check, and then I'm moving back. I can't even move the e pawn forward. That's what concerns me here. And it looks like my only counterplay is related to getting with my king to those pawns, or moving the pawn and queening. But I cannot do that. I can also get there, by the way, attacking that pawn. Sure, if he protects, I'm gonna give him a check here. And then it seems like he might have another weakness here, namely a6 pawn. So if I relocate, first I'm threatening to take here, second to take here, but first I'm gonna take here with check. If he goes somewhere, I can take here, right? Check again, I'm going back. Or maybe I don't even take. Once I give a check and he goes away, I start to harass the other pawns, maybe. That's what I'm considering that, but I don't know if that's the correct thing or not. I need to count. I can definitely take that pawn with the bishop, and that's gonna be good for me because I'm moving his king from c7, where it is just like covering all of the infiltration squares. Um, this one is premature, I think. He can still go there, of course, but then I give a check. And he goes in front of the pawn, and that's what I don't want. So moving the pawn forward is definitely not a good idea. I've just forgotten that he could go in even further. So once he's here, hang on, but if I go there and he goes that way, I give a check. He goes there, I can take here now. And that's a huge advantage because now I can probably infiltrate to take those pawns out. I will remaneuver on the dark squares and I'm gonna definitely take those pawns out. Alright, so maybe that's our solution. Even though I don't really want to do that, but maybe I will lose my possibility because he can relocate too. So if I go there, if he goes that way, well, no, I'm gonna take here. And if he checks me, sure, I'm just gonna go away. And I'm gonna take another pawn, maybe not taking it in there. Seems solid, really. So I don't think if I'm gonna be able to win that. I think that is bishop here is way too slow. I don't really care to take that pawn with check because he's going in front of the pawn, so that's why I need to move on e6 first, I think, to be able to prevent him. If he goes there, defending, if he goes there defending, then I can give a check, maybe. And if he goes there, I can give a check. He goes in front of the pawn, sure. And the problem is that I can't take d5 pawn. If I can take one of those pawns, well, that wouldn't really change anything. And e6 pawn on its own is the queening square is light, so I can't really get his king out of there. So it looks like we need to think about another plan. If I go there, maybe I should just take here, then check follows. I'm going to go back and say he covers. So he doesn't allow me to get anywhere close. I'm going there, going there, going there. I can attack and take that pawn out, but that wouldn't really help. No, that wouldn't really help. So I think we should be really, really fast here. Namely, we should move the pawn, I reckon. And if he comes and covers his pawn on d5, maybe I should just give him a check. I don't know. Check. He goes further. I go check again. He goes in front of the pawn. And then what? Then I just go and attack those pawns. To me it seems like black is totally fine here. Maybe I'm missing some of these subtleties, but I don't really find anything for white. It's a really interesting opportunity to take d5 pawn, but maybe it is not as bad as. So if I take, and if he gives me a check, if I move the pawn forward and he protects his pawn, in fact, you know what? If he protects, I'm moving my bishop to here, and then I'm just gonna walk this way. Or maybe I'm gonna give him a check first. So the idea is to walk on the dark squares to that pawn. Okay, and therefore I think e6 is essential here. I don't know what he's going to do. So two things. If he protects his pawn here, I reckon he can give me a check. He goes away, and I'm moving my bishop to d6. He can't really stop the pawns whatsoever. If he sacrifices the pawn, by the way, he's trying to take my pawn out, so I need to keep his pawn here intact. Therefore, I'm moving forward. If he protects his pawn here, I have to give him a check. He goes there. I'm moving forward here, and that's what is probably winning. Then I'm moving my bishop back, moving here. If he gets in front, I'm gonna give him a check. He goes away and I'm still infiltrating. Sounds good. So e6, and that's winning. By the way, that's the last move, and the whole idea is, I'll just show you. So if he, well, he can do different things. He can go there. It doesn't really matter because it is still like the I believe it's just a permutation of moves. I just check. He goes away, and I'm moving my king forward into here. Okay. Then at some point I'm just moving probably the bishop out, or maybe just moving this way. I don't know. But the idea is that the king goes on dark squares to g6 pawn here. That's the thing. Let's just count, okay? So first of all, I saw this variation. So if it goes that way, we do give a check first. So he goes away. I'm moving here. If he goes in front of this pawn here, hang on. No, this way. So if he goes there, I give a check here first. And if he goes in front of the pawn, then this way, okay? If in case he goes that way and I'm moving here, then he gives me a check, right? So that's not good. Shall I go that way then? If he comes closer, he's about to take my pawn out. Wow, hang on a second. Somewhere here I miscalculated, but there is a way, it seems. So either check here or there. I think I should just go that way. But then he sacrifices. Then I go there. He gets that way. I take. He gets in there. And my idea is still to go there. I think we can still win here. At some point he would need to go that way with the king. Then move the bishop. And I don't see how we can win easily here. Maybe it is still winning, but that's the whole point. Once he's there, I can't really move my bishop. So it looks like this check is the only way. And if he goes back there, then I think then I'm simply going that way, of course. Then I'm relocating my bishop, going there. If he stands in front, check here, still infiltrating. Yeah, that's the idea. However, if we've got if I move there, move in there, check, he goes there, relocating the king first. No, that doesn't work. I relocate my king here, and that's winning. And if he goes a different way, if I go there and he moves his king back, I believe that I still get that move. I could even potentially take here. Yeah, doesn't matter. Check here or check there, and the pawn is gonna go there. And my the most important thing, my king is gonna go on f6 and take the pawn out. Right, so plus 11 points, which means that this was quite a strong, quite a hard puzzle. I'm really delighted that I kind of solved that. Um, so shall we go to the next one? I will have a really quick break just to get myself some water, and I'll be back in a moment, okay? And this is the new puzzle, by the way, on the board. Okay, back. Welcome, welcome to whoever joined. And this is the new puzzle, which is the Rook and Game. Okay, what can we do here? Um, the Rook just stepped on e3, probably. Well, I was to say to threaten f2 check, but then I can simply take, right? So that's not a threat as such. But and we've got a passer on h5, so ideally I would like to get that one moving, and therefore I've got this kind of move here, but also was thinking about maybe I could win another pawn. Why not? So if I move here, what would be the black's plan? Maybe check. I can take. Then he gets there. I give a check, and it seems like it is winning. So what about h8? Rook h8. What is the black's plan? The pawn on f3 is gonna go soon. What is the idea behind this move here? I look at the players and it seems like they are 1600 players, which implies they were not that experienced. So I don't reckon there is any kind of deep thought behind this move. But that's it. Maybe there was something that they both missed, and that something was really powerful for black. Any kind of cunning trap here or whatsoever. Black cannot really go to the anyhow approach my pawns, by the way, because all the squares are protected. He can't really go there either. He can't really stay on this file. Well, no, he can stay on the E file, but he cannot go further because I reckon I'm just gonna check here. He goes away. Well, actually, if I take, he takes. I think I'm going to even lose that because his king supports the pawn, and if I move further here, he moves the pawn and queens. I go there, he queens first, and I think that might be winning for black. Not quite clear yet, but at least a draw. No, I think it's a draw, but we want to win, of course, right? So there is no way we could potentially. So this move here is probably not as strong as, because he moves forward. Then I check. He goes away, and I cannot exchange the rooks. Funnily, and that was the subtle plot here, I think, for black. So going there, since the going there doesn't really help, because he's gonna approach and then he's going to move this way and that way probably. So what can we do? We can move our pawn, of course, but then he is going to get his plan. And I'm moving my pawn even further. Then this check comes, he goes away, and white should be winning because we are threatening to give a check and then the queen, right? So that might be one of the possible things. Let's just remember that. Let's remember that. What else have we got? The second plan is that I saw, which was to go and take that pawn out. But I'm also thinking what else I can do here. Maybe I just relocate the rook somewhere. But that is not really promoting or threatening anything. Now if he goes further, I can give this check. And when he goes away, I can give that check. And once he goes away, I can keep checking him, but I don't want to draw. I want to win, of course, right? So if I go that way, say he goes further, I'm taking here. He goes with the rook further. And now I go and check him. He goes away, and I think I'm just simply taking the pawn. Right? So once I've taken that pawn, I've got two passers here, and I think I can safely, well, not sure if I can safely exchange that, but the rooks, I mean, maybe there is a chance for us. If I go there and he moves further, check here, he goes that way. The problem is I can't really take the pawn, can I? So, about going there, if he moves there and I'm taking, and he moves the rook forward, I don't even have a check, alright? But here if I move and he moves that way, that makes me think maybe I should just go there and attack the rook. And if he goes further here, and if I check him, it just goes away. And if I check him here, he loses the rook, so maybe that is the case. If I go there, I can always infiltrate and take my pawn here. That's not good. Definitely not good. So this way or that way, or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe this is the way. If he goes somewhere here, I check. If he goes somewhere there, I check anyways. And then I win the rook. Okay. If I go there and if the if the rook goes away, then he's got this spot here, of course. But if I go that way, he goes further. I take here. He goes further with the rook. I go there. And he gives me check. I'm going away. He moves the pawn forward. No, he can't move the pawn forward. And that's it. So he moves with the king. And I move my pawn. Both of the pawns. So I think that should be... Well, I see it as advantageous for white, but we need to look at... No, his pawn is not as dangerous, because I can always come closer with my king, and the rook can always attack from behind. So that seems playable. That seems playable, but still nothing concrete. Maybe I should just neglect that pawn, but it's too tempting to get that. But frankly saying, if I go there and he goes that way, and then I probably just move my pawn forward. If he goes that way, I just move my pawn forward. So, and if he goes back, I still move my pawn forward. I think that's it. Why this is better? Because that allows me to move the pawn to h7 and then go to g8 if he tries to prevent the pawn from queening. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So if he goes there, I move the pawn forward. He moves that way, I move the pawn forward. And he gives a check. I just simply take the pawn. He goes behind the pawn, and I'm gonna go attack him. He goes behind there, and it could be that I can take the other pawn out, sacrificing the one, but that seems to me... I think that's quite playable. Yeah, I think it is playable, so maybe rook there is best. If he goes further, I don't want to waste my time and just move the pawn forward. And then when he goes and checks here, I'm simply taking that. He goes behind the pawn. He goes behind the pawn. I cut off his king and then I'm gonna go for the other pawn. I think it should be winning. That's the whole subtlety of this 2600 plus, because you need to know all of the typical positions in the endgame, in the rook endgame. So once the king is away and the rook can actually cut him off, that should be winning. King cannot really approach to my pawn. It is on the long side, and I think that's good for the strongest side. In this case, white. Um, why to go to g6? Why not to here? Because this way the pawn is gonna be well, the rook is gonna be standing in front of the pawn, and let's see, going there. So he goes that way. I'm moving the pawn forward. Um, he goes with the rook. I'm moving the pawn forward. Now threatening. Check here. Going away. And that is also kind of really bad. But if I go that way and he goes somewhere here, I move the pawn forward. Or maybe, if I go there, he just starts to move with his king back. And if I move the pawn, he can get around that, and my king cannot really escape unless I'm just gonna go there, but then it's a draw. So yeah, here we go. And if I go that way, attacking the pawn, now if he goes, he can't really go further anymore, for the king is cut off, which is good. And if he goes further, or maybe he goes, if I go there, and if he goes somewhere like there, I can even take the pawn here with check, or maybe I just simply move further. He goes there, I am moving the pawn there, going there in front of the pawn. But that essential, that should be essential that I took that pawn out. Therefore going there, and this possibility depends what he does. If he goes there, I'm moving the pawn forward. If the rook goes anywhere, then I'm gonna be simply taking another pawn out. Okay. Then he moves with his king, sure, but I think I can take here with check. Yeah. Anything else? Let's just verify anything else, because I'm not kind of convinced that this is the solution yet, but even though it is really strong, it looks really strong. If he moves his king, I am simply moving the pawn forward because he needs another point to get out of there. And if he moves that way, I simply take another pawn. He takes that pawn. I'm standing in front. And it looks like the king is cut off and I'm ready to move my pawn forward. Although he can try and attack me from up front here, but no, he stands on h7, therefore I will be able to approach with my king and then move the pawn, and his king is still cut off. I think that's the idea. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move here. Alright, anything else? With this move, his king still just simply approaches the pawn, and then I either need to check again or whatever, or actually, if I go there and he starts approaching me, I can give a check. And if he goes back, I can simply take that pawn. But that said, I'm not sure if it is going to be winning, so no. I would need to take another pawn out, or move my pawn first. Okay, I'm moving here. And that's correct. So he moves there. That was one of our plans here, right? And if he moves there, he's got no time to prevent my pawn from queening. Therefore, I'm moving h6, and that's gonna be it. Unless he's got any subtleties here, like this. Moving, check, right? And moving away cannot really stop me. Checks here don't help, so h6. Right, check here. Now, this is the idea, basically. If I go and take that pawn, he stands in front of, behind my pawn, right? But then what I think is I'm gonna take one more pawn here. Hang on, but he approaches here. He approaches the other. No, he does. He cannot, because if he does that, I'm just standing in front of, behind my pawn, and he can't really take that, and it's gonna be winning. Wow, that's really interesting maneuvering. So if I take and he stands behind, I take that pawn, and he needs to take my pawn out here. And in this case, I think it is winning for me because I simply step with my king further, and that can be winning. Then I just move my queen, my rook away. Well, I can't let him queen, of course, so I'm taking, and that is winning. We were awarded the points, but let's just see what happens if he stands behind my pawn. Definitely, I cannot really defend that, but maybe there are some tricks, like maybe moving my king further. He's got no more pawn, more ideas, but to go there. Then I'm moving forward, and I'm threatening to take another pawn out. Maybe that's the idea. And then my king is really close, so I'm cutting off his king out, and then just moving away, and then just moving the pawn forward. Yeah, well, that's definitely winning. That's definitely winning with this cut off king. Yeah. So the whole idea here is to estimate the final position to uh, be sure that it is winning. In this case, we need to sacrifice one pawn in order to get to the winning um, pawn plus pawn and a rook against the rook endgame. So let's just see how it is going to be happening. I reckon that once he stepped here, I can still kind of harass his rook because he cannot really go anywhere around but to h4. Then we are approaching with our king. His king cannot really approach, so he says if he moves somewhere there, I'm taking here with check, and his rook is gonna go. If he goes backwards, I can still take the pawn, and once his rook takes that pawn, I'm just simply cutting off his king, right? Or I'm just even giving check on e5, and his king goes even further away from the pawn, and that's gonna be definitely winning. Okay, let's see how computer converts that. So the computer says yes, going there, sure, going away, going there, going that way, just taking the pawn. He takes the pawn, we're going away, and here we go. So if he tries to cut me off, I'm still moving the pawn forward, and in this case he can't really approach me. He can give me check, but my king just slips through and gets in front of the pawn anyways, whereas his king is cut off on the 5th rank, right? It's a 4th rank actually. So but the idea is that his king is cut off, if not vertically then horizontally. Interesting. And it's very good that I've solved that one because I kind of like rook and games, yet they are sometimes so complex that um, yeah. But in this case, we were thinking in the right way. Next. Right, so far so good. We've got a complex endgame, and let's just count the material as we usually do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns. The opponent has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. We're 2 pawns down. Material wise, we've got 2 minor pieces. He's got 2 minor pieces. Both rooks, both sides got rooks, and we've got queens. The the unpleasant fact here is that he's taken on g3, and his pieces are nearby my near my king, so that doesn't make me feel comfortable really. However, however, what kind of pluses of the position we've got? We've got really strong passer. That wouldn't really help if we got checkmated, of course, but we've got a strong passer, um, which we actually threaten to queen, and once he's taken, we are basically winning a rook here, which is gonna be good for us, definitely. So maybe the idea is simply to take that like cold, taking the on g3, and that's it. We can take on g3 with the h or f pawn, but if we take with the f pawn, I think he could start attacking my king at some point, and that's maybe dangerous because I can't go there with this check. If I go away this way, is there anything he could do? Possibly, potentially, not sure. Maybe taking here and then going with the knight anyways, then check on g3 um, with perpetual. The king is too exposed. My king is very exposed here. That's why maybe h takes g3 is better. I was thinking about f4 here, but well, if he simply takes, what am I going to do? If I really like that check here, because if his queen goes away somewhere, that's a possibility for us to simply take there, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that if we queen, he will have definitely a lot of play here with checks, etc. We can save. Can we go there or not? That's a problem. So maybe we shouldn't really be afraid of that. He can't really go in the light squares. So it is a possible action. Okay, anything else? All of his pieces seem to be coordinated and protected, so we haven't got this kind of possibility to just go and queen because of our king being way too exposed. By the way, if I take on g3 with my f pawn, even if he checks me here, I can simply cover with tempo, by the way. We shouldn't forget that he's got this pawn here too, so maybe there is something in here. I'm not sure, and I'm getting slightly tired. I need a break, I think. I'll take a really quick break and get back. The position still stays here, so you can try and solve that. Okay, let's do that again. So he's taking on g3, and we're standing, we're having a dilemma here. What are we going to do? Naturally, I would like to... Well, first of all, what if we just simply queen? What would he do? Check here. We're going away. He cannot do much, but he can take. I will have to take, and he goes somewhere here threatening checkmate in one, so that's definitely not good. Now, if that's the possibility, we can take on g3 with the f pawn. As I said, if he checks, I'm just simply covering with the rook, right? At the same time, we've got all these possibilities open for us to check on f7, by the way, and if he takes, we can queen with check. If he doesn't take, if he goes away somewhere, then, well, his flank is basically ruined here, and we could do many other things. But first of all, we can always just queen and then take, and our king is still kind of safe. He can't really sacrifice. If he moves the pawn forward, sure, but then we can give this checks here to his king, and I think since everything is open, I believe that we might be able to checkmate him. On the other hand, taking on taking with the h pawn also creates some possibilities for us to move the rook here on the h file and threaten checkmates here too. Too far from that, so far, kind of, it's not really feasible, I think, so far, but then he can take here. So yeah, I'm just starting to think maybe we could simply queen. After this check with that check, we can just simply go away to h1. If he takes, I take, then this check here is possible, but wouldn't be our queen under in danger, our king in danger. So going there, I'm gonna give this check here. He just simply goes away. Right, I haven't got any continuation, and I'm about to get checkmated. So that's not good. That's why I said maybe we should just take with the pawn either. With this pawn, yes, I can put my rook to h1, but what would that give me? What I'm planning to do is queening. He takes, I take, then this check is threatened with the checkmate on h8. That's why I think maybe that is a good idea to open the h file. But opening the f file is also having its merits, because well, say he takes here, I'm taking, and he moves the pawn forward. I'm queening, he's taking, I'm taking, and frankly saying, well, I'm first of all I'm guarding the d1 square, right, and also I'm threatening to go this way and that way with checks. Also, this check is possible. So it looks like, and if the king goes away, still a lot. Kind of, it looks like what has got initiative, anyways. So maybe that is a possibility for us. But that seems passive, if you know what I mean. Maybe it is a high level of the puzzles, and that requires us to think in terms of prophylaxis, not to allow him to attack us, because if he does, it is going to be devastating. It's going to be really bad. With all these pieces around my king and the queen, that should be really bad. So I'm thinking that the simple solution would be to take with the take on g3. With what piece, I'm not quite clear yet. With what pawn? Sorry, I'm not quite clear yet. So if I take with that pawn, what I don't like about that my king's flank is gonna get open, and this diagonal will be open. So with this one, I'm also, by the way, threatening to go f4, which is an additional possibility. By the way, what I thought is like taking here, check here, taking, getting with a knight there. So then it is gonna be. Um, so taking with the h pawn is seems better to me now. I can get that way, also threatening. If he takes, I'm simply taking this way, right? So yeah. So taking with the h pawn seems better to me because of that. The king is not gonna get exposed to checks because every single time you give your opponent a possibility to check, maybe you missed something and he could develop a strong attack here. So intuitively, you don't want to give this checks. Although saying that, I encourage you just to calculate the variations because sometimes it seems dangerous. In fact, it is not that dangerous. In this case, I would prefer not to expose myself on the second rank. I'll take on g3 with the h pawn, with the idea of going f4 here too, forking the queen and the knight. I don't see any kind of possible counterplay here, but I reckon that there could be, like, if he tries to exchange me here, sure, I'm just taking, and my idea of b8 queen is still in the air, and he can't really prevent me from queening. He can move his pawn forward, of course, but, well, the idea is that my rook is still blocking that. Let's say I'm taking and he starts to move the pawn forward because he also wants to queen, right? What's gonna happen in this scenario? We can't really take the knight out. What if we simply queen and he queens, right? So we take here with check, so he takes here. We go there, check, and he goes away, and it doesn't seem like I could do anything here because his queen here would require me to take on d1. He takes with the knight, and then what? What's gonna happen then? His king is kind of safe here, and my king is relatively safe too, but yeah, well, that gives him a lot of opportunities in my opinion. I wish I could move his queen somewhere like here to give him check and win it. So maybe that's the idea, in fact. Maybe I could take here with check. Because if he takes a queen with check, right? If he takes with the king, and I can take here with check. But that doesn't seem, yeah, it doesn't seem bringing me anything. This one is fine, but too slow. I think there should be something better than that. Should be something better. This check here is interesting, but how do I lure his queen into this? If I go there, for example, what's gonna happen? Well, this whole thing with the knight is interesting, but I'm losing the defender of the b pawn here, which could go in queen. out of the forcing things, this check is the most forcing. But then what's gonna happen? He can't take with the rook. If he takes with the king, maybe simply queening. That if he takes this check here, goes also away somewhere. We take that. Not convincing, frankly saying. That is not convincing. Maybe taking the bishop out. Still check, right? Going away. Yeah, well, this one is not really going anywhere. Still, if I take here, are I threatening anything? That's the question. Another thing is that I saw that move, after which he takes. After which he takes with the bishop. Then I can always take here, but then check follows, right? So no, that's not good. So h take g3 is definitely the idea, but too slow. Out of all my pieces, this bishop is going to get exchanged at the moment, so maybe I should just try and sell that as for the biggest highest price. So taking here, taking with the queen, with the rook doesn't help because of this check, right? Kind of. And then we can either take the rook and then simply exchange here, or yeah. So getting the check. Say he takes with the king. I don't see how I can continue with that. I don't see how I can continue with that. Taking here, maybe something else. Most forcing will be checks. Maybe this check would do too. But if he takes, I'm missing this opportunity to queen, right? Because that is my main trump. But he's got his own pawn, so I need to be careful about that. If he decides to exchange me here, so be it. I mean, I still can go and take and then queen or something, and he can't really stop me here, so that's good. Out of the other ideas, maybe I should just move my queen here, but then yeah, well, this is not really A bright idea. Taking here, take check, just goes away, and my king is in trouble. So the whole problem is that my king is in trouble. So maybe we should be thinking, still like thinking from prophylaxis, and just taking on g3. Maybe that's going to be the best. If he moves the pawn forward with the idea of queening, then we need to think about that. But in any case, I can always sacrifice my rook. So I queen here first. Say he takes me, I take him. Right now he queens here. Then I take him. He takes me. I give a check. And if not giving me a check, I don't know what. Then going there, I'm moving my knight here. Then this check here is threatened, as well as taking here. I think that is not too bad. Moreover, this taking will imply that I'm threatening f4 with a fork, which is also not too bad. That might bring my rook away, but this thing here should be okay, I believe. Because if he moves there, well, that's not really clear, is it? Can take here check. He goes away. And I haven't got any other checks in my position. I can queen, but that doesn't really say I could do anything about that. I believe that the safest way is just to take on g3. This is the threat, right? So this is the threat. If he wants to exchange here, sure, I'm just gonna take and then queen here. Then I can sacrifice my rook for that pawn. If I take and he goes with the pawn right away, then, well, first I can just move my knight bishop away, right? Defending that square and threatening to queen here. So I think that would be my first choice. I may be wrong. Maybe this kind of checks here and crazy complications is the key. But yeah, I just want to be as stable as possible. Going there, the bishop comes here, and that's it. Then I'm still queening, and he can't stop me. So yeah, I'm taking here, guys. Right, so he goes there, and this is the move that I was looking at, because I'm controlling the d1 square here. He cannot push that anyhow else, so we're under control, and our pawn is gonna be queening and winning. And that's correct. Wow, that's correct. See, well, this is a very interesting puzzle where it is not really attacking, and it is a really rare kind, so I kind of like that one. And the puzzle theme is defensive move, by the way, which means the prophylaxis. And as I see it is really a rare type of puzzles here on Lichess, at least that I meet in the regular routine here. Maybe you can choose them deliberately just to practice those ones, but they are really really rare once you solve the puzzles the way I do. Very interesting, and I'm really really kind of happy that I solved that one, because it is not really attacking, it is really finding the best defensive moves. And the struggle for me was well, first of all, taking here opens up all of the check possibilities for them for black. Once I'm taking with the h pawn, then everything is my king is safe. The only problem here was that this pawn is going to be the ultimate weapon against us, and then once I found this move, everything was kind of falling into line because we're controlling the d1 square. The pawn cannot really queen. We're going on b8 and queening. He needs to sacrifice his rook, and we are standing rook up here with a nice king's position. It is really defended, and we can start hunting his king or exchange pieces to get to the winning endgame. I'm really pleased with that one. Okay, another rook endgame. Shall we or shall we not? That's the question. Um, Not quite sure. Let's just look into that a little bit. See if I could find the idea. And if I can't, I don't want to struggle too much. I will just probably uh, we'll call it a day. But let's see. All right. So here we've got the pawn and game, rook and game. What happens is black has got really strong passer on c4 supported by his rook, and that's how rook should be located according to all of the chess rules. Now our pawn here is much more advanced, and if we succeed to move it even further, I think we're going to win. Therefore, the first move that comes to my mind is king to g6, with the idea of just pushing the pawn forward. If he goes and tries to catch up with that, we're gonna give him check, and wherever he goes, we're gonna queen next move. Or if he goes in front of the pawn, we're gonna go check here, and that's gonna be checkmate, right? So that's it. Why couldn't we give a check right forward? He's gonna go and hide his king on f7, and we can't really approach him. We can't check here. He simply exchanges, and we can't even catch that pawn because that is gonna go in queen. We're not getting into the square of the pawn once he goes there. In theory, no, he moves first, and we go there, right? Let me check here, goes there, check here, takes. He can move the pawn. He guards our pawn, and we cannot really get into this square. Yeah, so that's gonna be losing. Therefore, we need to do something about that. Check here doesn't help, so we need to move the king. That's the only way. If he goes like this, then we check, and the rook is gone. We can easily sacrifice a rook for that pawn if necessary, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. So he goes away, and we are queening the pawn. So I think this move is the key here. It doesn't seem like there is anything else. Well, we need to prevent his king from appearing on f7. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there is anything better than that. So king to g6. What would be his counterplay? He might go for our pawn, by the way, with his king. So his idea is just to go there and try to push the pawn as fast as he can. He can always sacrifice his rook for our pawn here, and once it's performed, his king is going to be really active. He's going to push the pawn and win the rook. And then, by the way, he's really close to our pawn, so he can go there and take that. Whether he could win or not, that's not really clear. I can always move my king forward and kind of try to create this position, but it seems like it is very advantageous for black in this case. Okay, so going there, he starts to move his king closer to my rook. I go further. Say he sacrifices the rook. I say I take that. He goes further. I believe it is a winning position here. It seems like, because his rook needs to go away, and then we just start to move the pawn forward or move our king forward, and our king is way too slow to get anywhere here. Getting there, pawn moves forward. He goes somewhere, we move forward. He sacrifices, we sacrifice. Yeah, that's gonna be way too slow for us. In other So the scenario is somehow moving our pawn forward but not letting his king to go closer. And another idea is like once I'm going there, say it is still my move, I'm going that way, he can't really take me, so he needs to step back, and then we are simply taking this pawn. No, that's impossible because he's gonna take that pawn, so moving the king further and then trying to take that pawn because he cannot retake, otherwise we are going to queen. A suggestion, right? A suggestion. Let's just keep that in mind. Let's just keep that in mind. If not that, what can we do? Because his idea is clear. He wants to approach with his king. If I go there, check. He goes back there. Check. Takes. Well, he doesn't want to take the king, the pawn with the king. So he simply moves c3 and I'm losing here, right? So just to verify again, it's not really, it's waste of time. Just going there. Okay, goes to my pawn. I'm moving my pawn forward, therefore he has to sacrifice. And once he sacrificed, I took there, and he moves in front. And I don't think I should go backwards here. I should probably step aside maybe or something. This way. The pawn moves forward. I move my king forward there. There, he approaches. I approach him. Approaches the pawn. I'm gonna go there. Queening, I'm taking. He's taking. I think that should be winning, guys. I think that should be winning for white because he needs to queen first, right? And then our king approaches here, approaches his pawn here. And once that happens, we should probably move the pawn forward and then take that pawn. He won't be able to get over my king, and therefore is going to be somewhere here, and that pawn is going to lead us to win. In fact, that's why it is here. Otherwise, it would be a draw. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, so the idea is to go king g6. Now, do we have anything better than that? If we move away, see, he starts to move his pawn. We don't want that to advance. Yeah, definitely. Okay, definitely. There is nothing to be, nothing better than that. Now, actually, I found one more move here, which is rook to e3. What if he moves the pawn forward? I'm just moving there. He moves his pawn forward. No, he takes. I take. He moves his pawn forward. He queens. I queen. He queens. Not good. So we should move the pawn forward, I believe. What if he just tries to gain more time here to get our king further away? We go further. He goes for our rook. We go further. He goes further. We queen. He takes. We take. He goes further. No, he doesn't. He moves the pawn forward. We go there. He comes closer. We go away. He comes for another pawn maybe or something. Or maybe moves the pawn even further. That I think is drawish. That seems drawish. Um, um, I'm just thinking maybe we should just step back or something. He simply pushes his pawn. I push the pawn. He needs to step back. I push my king forward. He comes with his king. I'm queening. He's taking. I'm taking. He's coming closer, and I don't think we are going to be able to, we are going to win that one. Okay. There is absolutely no way to win that one because his king is way too active and the pawn is way too advanced. But maybe there is a way. I'm not quite sure. So looks like moving pawn forward is the only way. Yeah, I think the best one is best one for him is just to go back with the rook to make me spin more tempi here. If we don't move the pawn, if we try some tricks like that, then he moves the pawn forward. I simply take that. So he can't really move his pawn forward. Just a second, so that's what I'm thinking. So I go there. If he moves the rook backwards, so he controls the square, and we tries to spin more, try to force us spinning more tempi. What can we do is simply going back or what? Or maybe we can go there. Here it is. If he moves the pawn forward, we simply take that pawn. Okay, that's the case. But if he doesn't move the pawn, what can he do? Because we're threatening to go there. So he can move his rook there. Stopping the pawn. Hmm. I just thought of something, guys. So if in my last variation, moving there, maybe I could just go that way with the idea of going further with the rook. But if I go there, he moves the pawn forward, I move my pawn forward. And if he sacrifices here, I'm just simply taking. His king approaches, and then that doesn't work. It was a good idea, but unfortunately that didn't really work. Unfortunately that didn't really work. So I'm sticking to my old plan, just going with the pawn forward. If he takes that, let's just go straight forward. So if he takes that, I have to take with the king. If he goes further with his king, I'm just gonna go step back. He goes further, I'm stepping there. He goes further, I'm going for the pawn. He takes, I'm taking here. He attacks the pawn. I'm going forward. He goes there. I'm going forward. He goes there. I'm taking, and it looks like it is winning for white. So going there, taking seems like not good for black, because if he goes further, I'm simply stepping back. Okay. And if he starts to move the pawn, I'm gonna go further. If he goes further with the king, I'm gonna go further too. If he goes there, I'm gonna go and attack his pawn, I think. And if he goes even further, I can probably simply take that. He takes that, and I'm attacking his pawn. Alright, he goes there, I'm taking, he's going there, and I'm moving forward, and this pawn is gonna slip and win, I think. But I might be wrong. I'm gonna go there. I think it's, well, still looks winning for white. That's the whole idea. Once the king is way too far, and it seems like really dangerous because the rook is struggling against the king and the pawn, but in fact the king comes closer, and the black should move the pawn, move the king, move the king, move the pawn. So it's like he needs to waste way too many moves because our king is just simply going there for his pawn, sacrificing, taking that pawn out, and this pawn is gonna be winning, right? So I think that's the whole idea. Unless he can go further to make us spin one more move, and that's where I am kind of thinking of going there. And if he stands in front of the pawn, then that's the idea, that I still go further. He takes my pawn, I take him. If he goes and attacks me here, that is with tempo, of course. But I can simply just go away, and if he moves further, I can start moving my king further. He goes even further, I'm just simply going away. And if he starts to move the pawn, my king goes even closer. He moves the pawn here. Actually, I can go there. So if he moves the pawn closer, I'm gonna further go with the king. So maybe even here. He queens, I take, going there, attacking, going there, and that's winning. Yeah. So going there. Right, and as we understand, he went back there with a clear idea of making me wasting one more time, one more tempo. Right, so here is going to go our trick, but with the idea of going further. But if we go there, what if he goes and pushes his pawn? And I'm gonna go there. He has to take. I'm taking. He moves there, and it's losing because we have queened one move earlier, and it's definitely winning. Um, which seems nice. So I got this position from the very beginning, which is really good. But now I just need to not to shade it really. So this is the move. He goes in front, right? Otherwise we're moving here and he's losing. Once he moves in front, I still go further with my king, and here he has to take me here, and I'm taking him here. Therefore my king is closer, doesn't waste that tempo, which is really essential here. If he goes there with the king, I'm just moving forward, moving backwards maybe. Yeah, moving backwards. Or, well, there is no or, I can't do much about it. Maybe I could go back, in fact. So he moves the, no, I need to be in front, so I'm just gonna go there. And if he moves further, I'm moving with my king. He moves further, attacking my rook, I'm gonna go there. He's gonna go for my rook, say, I'm just gonna go further even more, Attacking the pawn should go further. I'm attacking the pawn again. He goes and attacks my rook. I'm just gonna move that pawn further, and I think I'm going to win this one. If he takes me here, I'm taking, but he comes closer, I go there. I can't go there. Whoa, complex, complex. I don't think the puzzle is gonna last that long, but we need to understand the concept. That's my whole point. So once you make a move, you need to understand the whole consequence of your action, right? And here the consequence is that, well, I'm trying to win. So this is definitely the best move here because I'm threatening to go there, right? And he definitely needs to step in front of the pawn. And then we attack that. Then he attacks us with the king. And then I think I should just simply take here. And if he takes here, I'm stepping away. He goes there, I'm queening, and that's winning, right? So stepping here, going there, and here comes the stake. Okay. I also saw that, but this is kind of really powerful in this position. Maybe we could even go there. He goes further, we take, right? So let's just try. Well, taking here would do too, it looks like. So I'm kind of confused. My idea was to go there, so I think we should stay with our plan. If he goes somewhere else, I'm queening. He goes there and he's not having this queen yet. And there we can attack him. Right, so I think that's the whole idea. Unless we need to change our plan in this. I reckon we should just stick to our plan and go there. But I'm kind of curious what's gonna happen if I take. Check is not possible, so... And we're threatening. No, I think I'm gonna stick to our plan. If he gives me check here, sure, I'm just gonna go there. Goes further, queening, queening, but, well... Or maybe we should just take. Alright. What is better, to have a rook or and a queen? I guess rook and a queen, but the king is not really well. Let's verify that. So I go there. He goes check. I go away. He tries to queen. I'm queening. He's queening. Okay. In this position, we've got this check here. He can go away somewhere. We could give another check. Check. I think leaving the rook, the queen on is gonna be better. What is the merit of taking here? He cannot really take us. If he takes, we queen, right? But we're gonna queen anyways, and his king cannot really approach us. So I think this is the best, in my opinion. But maybe that thing is faster since we moved here anyways. Once I moved here, like once I moved my rook here, I was thinking if he goes there, I'm just simply taking. But saying that, I might just, well, if he doesn't really move here, if he moves the king, then I'm gonna go there for sure. And then this one is already too late because he has to exchange. Then I'm taking here and this is winning. So if he moves c3, I'm simply taking on c3. Yeah, that's better. See why I didn't really like the other move? It is way too complex because here I still get the pawn and I'm still gonna queen and he's gonna lose his pawn, his rook, and I'm gonna be having extra rook. Whereas, look, if I go there, he goes check, I'm going away, he goes there, I go here queen, he goes there queen, and this is unclear position to me. I mean, it is more complex than the previous one, which was kind of easy win in my opinion. Here it is like, yeah, well, it is probably winning for white, still winning for white because we are kind of struggling. It's our move first of all, and maybe we should try and like once I was looking for a forcing win here, I couldn't really find anything. How do I separate them? How do I check them? How do I win the rook? It seems like it is kind of solid here. Not clear, really. Let's see what the computer says. And the computer says 000. Surprise, surprise. No wonder I didn't see anything. Alright? So that one compared with the position that we've got here, once he goes this way and I'm taking, if he takes, this is much clearer. Right? It's much clearer. The pawn is actually protected, right? So that's much better. Still a lot of effort to win that one once you're playing over the board, but hey, this is much clearer than the previous one, where it was like to find these, and it would be really tempting to go for the second version, which is this one, because you might think like, well, yeah, I'm gonna definitely um, checkmate him here, but how? He escapes via here or via there somehow, there, and then he consolidates. That's the problem, and that's why I didn't really see anything here. Well, that was a really good session. I'm really proud that I solved 6 puzzles, no losses today. And the second thing is that I got over 2600, so it is 2702, which is another achievement. I'm really pleased with this result. Let me just check how it looks here. Yeah, it's a really nice spike here, and I will keep going there on in the next session, which will be on Saturday. Okay, regular time. So thank you guys to everybody who was watching and will be watching. Thank you to Ruby for following, and I will see you on Saturday then. Okay, and I would say take care, bye bye, and see you later.